Let's do it up. Beat it.
Now, it's Erik Nagel.
Well, this is very exciting. I'm here with Tom Cavanagh.
It's very exciting. It's a low bar.
I got to ask you a question, though, about your Twitter real fast before we get into everything. Is this legitimately your Twitter? Cavanagh Tom?
Cavanagh Tom is me, yes.
Okay, because you're not verified.
Don't know how to do that.
I thought you'd have a bigger following than you have already, which is ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know how to answer any of that question because I feel like I read this thing recently. It was like, real men don't tweet. I'm like, well, perfect. You know, and I don't know. Someone else set this thing up for me, and I don't know how to get verified. I have really no interest in. I mean, I was like, don't care if people.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't really, I guess I don't care that much about it.
I think it only really matters to be verified in the case of if you're an actual company or a celebrity, so that if there is news or stuff that you're promoting or whatever and it's on that account, you know that is legit information.
Understood. I know there's been some copycats already. It feels like if you're going to copycat somebody, wouldn't you go copycat like Robert Downey Jr. or somebody?
There is a Twitter account for your Ed character, so I knew that was bogus.
Way.
Yeah,
that's not true.
It's it's all about your life in Stuckyville, and it's just a day-to-day operation about what's going on. Like they don't want to accept that the show has ended.
I think that's good. Good for them.
Though I am a big fan of Ed. Let's talk about why you're here. The Flash.
Yes, sir.
The Flash is awesome.
The Flash is a fun show. That's the truth. I feel like sometimes you have to promote the wares and you're not so sure. But I'm a big fan of the Flash.
Have you read the comics growing up?
Yeah, I actually did. I spent part of my childhood in Africa. We didn't have like television, film, any of that stuff. We had comic books, you know. And I actually kind of thought when going into it, I talked to these guys about doing this show, and I'd done a couple of shows with them already, and kind of like how they roll. And I was like, oh, this could be good. And I personally know a lot about the Flash. This was sort of my opening salvo, and then I realized,
was the Flash your guy? Like Seinfeld has Superman,
Batman.
Batman was your guy.
But there's completely room for the fastest man on earth. I like the Flash too.
Right.
You know, my father was a big like the Flash as well. My father also loved Green Lantern. You know, there's room for superheroism.
Right. The Flash is more than just a cool T-shirt.
Flash is a very cool T-shirt, by the way.
Right.
Strong logo. You know, if you get the weathered gray look and a little bit of Flash logo, it's not bad. But I would thought, well, I know a lot about the Flash. You know, because I mean, how much is there to know? Barry Allen, and he's fast.
Right.
But now that I'm in this world, I realize I know nothing. I'm like the dumbest guy in the room, you know. And
none of your comic book knowledge is helping you out with the TV show?
Everyone's like, yeah, idiot, everybody knows he's fast.
Right.
You know, like, oh yeah, I guess that's right.
What else does he do?
And they're like, boom, would you know about this? And you know about the Rogue Gallery? You know about it? And if you go, and we went to Comic-Con in San Diego and talk about like knowing nothing. You're just like, wow, you're rubbing shoulders with people who are a lot more knowledgeable about the job that you have.
Right. This is a very dangerous world that you have entered into, like you just said there. With comic book characters and superheroes being, you know, very trendy and all the rage now with movies and coming back strong in television, there's nothing you can do right by most of the audience, whether it's true to the book, it's true to the story, or if you have to change it for, you know, going in a different direction to make your own stories, you're going to find from anybody online that you're doing it wrong.
You're idiotic.
Right.
You're idiots. How could you do that? What's nice about what we have going for us, Erik, and I don't know if you know this, but so Jeff Johns, who's like the keeper of the flame at DC, is one of our main guys that runs this show. And so he writes the Flash. He incorporated like you know, the newest version. So essentially we're like, oh really? Because we got the guy. So we know more than you, because, and everyone like bows to him. He's like,
no, sir, you're wrong, because they're on the internet. They know more than you.
True, but he's rock star royalty that they all bow to. We went to Comic-Con and literally, you know, because Jeff is a very unassuming guy, and we were up shooting the pilot, you know, just a tremendous fella to hang out with. Then I saw him in his realm at, you know, at Comic-Con, and literally it's like the president's walking through, and I'm like, you're a big deal. He's like, yeah, I'm a big deal here. You know, and he really is. People treat him.
I hold
like
the
royalty.
key to all that you value.
100%. Yeah, exactly right. He's like, everything you want to be, I'm that guy. You know what I mean? And he's the guy that helps run our show. So we're in good stead when it comes to the haters.
And it's amazing too, at that same kind of con, he would be online to maybe get a soda or a bottle of water, and there's a guy in a Flash costume yelling at him that you cut the line and get the hell out of here, and throwing stuff at him, and you're like, you don't know what you just did.
Yeah, exactly right.
What can you tell me about Harrison Wells that's more than just a sexy guy in a wheelchair?
I sort of feel like that is how he is perceived, and I'm fine with that.
You're giving Xavier a run for his money. A wheel for his money.
Well, he's knighted, right? So he's got a hand up on me, I feel, sort of thing. Like he's actually is a knight. And until I get knighted, I might like have like some work to do. But you know, it's always good to have a high bar, something to reach for.
What was going through your mind? How were you feeling when you found out that you got this role for this show?
I'd done shows with these guys, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And at first blush, I was like, "No, that's dumb."
Really?
Just because I thought, here's the best way to describe it. In the pilot, you're reading, it's like dude in wheelchair going like, "You have to move at 700 RPM." Blah 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 blah. You know, a lot of like he's a rock star physicist is how they describe it. And I was like saying, there's no such thing. There's a physicist. There's a rock star. The twain don't really meet. But in comic book world, you can have a rock star physicist. I'm like, yeah, but rock star physicist, I don't know. How much is that going to fun is that going to be to play? And then they're like, keep reading the script, keep reading, keep reading. And then at the end, boom, I go in a secret vault. I stand up out of the wheelchair. I access a plinth, which is one of my favorite new words. And out of that plinth comes a hologram, a newspaper in the future that says, The Flash in 2024. And so you're like, oh, so there's mystery, there's other layers and dual personas and roles and all this kind of stuff to all these characters. And they're like, look, Barry Allen, he's the Flash, he has an alter ego. That's great. But in many ways, that guy is the most easily definable of all these characters we're going to trot out. And you're one of those guys. It's like, and so, you know, in episode 2, there's a guy who's like trying to catch the Flash. I stand up out of the wheelchair and shiv the guy in the chest and kill him. And I'm like, the Flash must be protected. So clearly, when these guys started writing it, they had like stuff going on for Harrison Wells. And once that stuff became apparent, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in.
Did you have any kind of concern when you found out about the Flash project, you're going to be a part of it here, where for some reason the TV versions of superhero projects don't seem to get, people aren't giving it a chance right off the bat as if they would, it was a movie?
Yeah, I think one of the concerns that we had is that, you know, you do television, like most, you know, I don't know what the percentages are, but 80 plus just don't go. You know, you shoot the pilot, everyone's shooting pilots, then the pilots, most don't get picked up, some get picked up, and those ones, even then, the percentages are that they don't go. And I thought the danger was completely that, you know, we might be on the slippery slope, you know, the descendant side of the mountain, and that people might be over it, you know. But that being said, the guys who are doing this show are really knowledgeable and sort of know how to put stuff together. And so I think they've done it like a really, really, we've shot 9 now. You know, it could just be a guy, actor coming on going, hey, watch this show. But I really do think these guys feel like they have one kick of the can. Nothing's promised. You could get canceled. It happens all the time.
Right.
And these guys are like, you know what? If we have a shot at doing the Flash TV show that we love, let's make it awesome and just put so much stuff in there. So every episode is like a comic book. There is like heart, there's humor, there's spectacle, there's massive spectacle. I can tell you, like, the stuff that aired last week, we spent days and days shooting this big climactic fight scene, you know? And literally they got that thing, and those guys were like, down in LA, they were like, not good enough. And we scrapped the whole thing, which,
wow,
you know, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars and man hours. And they were just like, I love the fact that we worked this hard on it. It's just not
They
good
really
enough.
want to get this right.
They wanted to make it look more like World War Z fight. And they ultimately, we did shoot that, and we got that in the can, and we aired it, and it's better, you know, and they want to get it right. They want to, for themselves personally, not be disappointed, you know, if it does get yanked after 7,
Right.
and they're like, look, we feel like this is a good show. And I think the people who benefit the most from that are the viewers and the fans.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that that you failed. It means we can do better.
They just really want, like, they've loved this thing since they were like 5, 6, and they're just like, look, now we're actually getting a chance to do this. Let's make it good.
Do they ever look back at the old Flash TV shows and say, okay, we're not doing this, we're not acting like that?
They know, you know, the guy that plays our Flash's dad, John Wesley Shipp, was actually the original Flash on the other television show. I think it was 1980 or so that they did, or 1990 that they did.
90,
this show.
I think. Yeah.
And John's great. He's a tremendous guy. And he knows, like, you know, we have reaped the benefits from all the latest technology. You know, what's the Flash? What's his power? Speed. You can't skimp on screen, big or small, on that speed. And literally 5 years ago, Eric, you could not have done the show that they're doing now. Like the speed effects, like the windows blowing out and the actual blur of it, it's visceral. You can feel it.
I like the fire tracks sometimes.
Yeah, the fire tracks. That's the domain of like big movies. It used to be, because on a television budget, you couldn't do it. And now you can. And like I say, we benefit from that.
I love your character, Harrison Wells, on The Flash here. I'm somehow drawn to the villains. You're not a villain. At least I don't think you're a villain at this time. But it seems like you're a bad guy in hiding. The way that you're portraying yourself, you're not with the best intentions that you're looking out for everybody.
Yeah, when we do this show, I have like the guys from like the WB with snipers and scope rifles pointed at me all the time, lest I like give away any secrets. You know what I mean? But they do have like a lot, like not just for me and my character, but the people I work with and other characters. Like it's a comic book, you know? So it's not like, well, he's just going to be this thing. You know, they've got like all this stuff, and you know, you kind of crack the spine of this week's script, and you're like, I mean, I don't know what I can say too much about tonight's episode, but there's like stuff in there. You're like, wait, I get to do that? That's fantastic stuff. You know, like there's a line which I love, and it's just sort of our mandate, but there's a line in the pilot where Carlos Valdez, who plays Cisco, is like putting the finishing touches on what's going to be the Flash's suit. And up until then, we've seen him in spandex, which I thought was fantastic. It's like, remember the old superheroes? Remember Adam West? We just chucked some spandex on them and you're good to go. And nowadays, it's like they got the cool suit. They got, you know, like all these accoutrements and things. And the last little thing flourishes, he puts like this lightning bolt on the chest, you know, and up until then, the suit's been functional, you know, friction resistant, all this kind of stuff, you know, earpieces, all that kind of stuff, like going to be able to move at his speed and protect him. And it's been function. He puts the lightning bolt on the chest and he's asked, what's that for? And he says, his answer is, so it's not boring. And that's kind of like our mandate now for the show. It's like, we're doing this show and we just want to do a show that's not boring, you know? So every week they come out with stuff to the point where like Greg Berlanti on episode 7, we've gotten so much stuff and introduced so many like classic rogues and characters and had so much adventure and stuff going on. I was like, hey man, like I know you want to do like the Flash show, but are we going to run out of story? And verbatim, he goes, there's always more story.
A couple of things you just said there about them. One, you got to be careful with revealing too much. Two, there always is more story. I want to touch on the costume a second. Any chance or that maybe something's been discussed that you might be donning some kind of outfit somewhere down the line?
I don't know anything about that.
Nothing in yellow?
Oh, here's the thing. If you go on the social media, this is the thing I'm talking about. Everybody's so much more knowledgeable than you.
Right.
They're like, if you read this thing, they're like, dude, I have theories about your character. And they'll throw like stuff like time travel and you're like, you know, it's like a Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, these theories are awesome. Like we should kind of maybe hire these people, you know, like, do you want to come like write a guest episode? Because you clearly know what you're talking about. You know, this is what I talk about, steeped in the mythology that I'm not compared to these people. But what I like is the discussion that it, you know, this discussion that it provokes because people are into it, you know?
Yeah.
They're really into it.
Well, if you're going to touch on the theory thing here, then
Yeah, go.
I'm not an internet guy. I'm not blogging.
Yeah.
I'm just talking to you know,
But so
as
you're
a guy.
you're like a very knowledgeable comic book fan, Flash in particular.
I've been learning more about it since DC started doing more of their network and branching out their universe. What I didn't know, I was trying to fill in the pieces, and it's all available now thanks to apps and things online. And if you can't find old trades or issues, they have them online with the subscription service. So I'm like, well, I don't know that particular story of that time of the Flash or this with Superman.
You can
can
just
go
pop it up.
and you can go and you buy the whole series, and you're just sitting there on your iPad reading through and like, oh my God, this was so easy. Now I'm into it even more so than I was before.
But what I found was like when I was doing that same sort of thing. I was like, and I thought, good, I'm going to like go from point A and know everything. Right. It's impossible.
It is. Because the stories,
how hard can it be?
Stories branch off in so many different directions. It's hard to get a clear cut
and once
timeline
you start,
of what you're
like,
doing.
oh my, it's almost like the more you know, like the less you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Crazy.
it's exactly it is. Because the more you read about these alternate stories or different versions of things, or they went in different directions, you're like, okay, I know this, but they're not going in this direction. They're going with this character in that direction. And your head's going to implode.
And if you try and pin them down, and they're trying to answer you honestly as the actor on the show, and you're getting all these things, but your head kind of starts to explode.
I think fans need to just watch things and enjoy the ride with it, not try to figure it out, not try to jump ahead, not try to think that, oh, your character may be somebody later in the show, even though I just asked you that. Just enjoy where the story's going, and so what? It's not exactly like the book, but you can see there's a lot of homage to the original story. 100%. There's a lot of, the roots are based in the original origin or something like that, and enjoy a new interpretation of where it's going.
It doesn't matter to anyone more than it matters to them. They're
Right.
trying to do such
And
an
you're not doing
incredible
like,
job on
like
it.
the George Clooney Batman where they were just doing it and not giving a shit about the story or the fans.
It is like so dear to them. It matters so much to them, and that's got to be great for the fans.
Well, I like the direction and everything this is going here. It's
What's your theory?
I was going to try to move past that because
Okay, go
I
ahead,
felt
go
a little
ahead.
embarrassed asking this, but I'll do it now.
I'm not going to answer anyway. So,
Okay.
you know.
All right. Well, I'll just throw it out there.
Yeah.
So the end of the pilot episode, like I said, is up on the CW site. You can check it out
Yep.
there. The way the episode ended, was there maybe a hint because DC's doing all these characters on different networks? Is there maybe something that they could do, some kind of tie-in, like a Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of thing, where even though they're on different networks, because of that storyline and that particular series, is a way to bring them all back together?
The branching out thing, I think they're very interested in that. Whether it's a smaller branching out as opposed to really tackling the higher
Yeah, it
concept
doesn't have to
stuff
be
that
the
you're
whole
talking-
entire
Right.
library, but I mean, to have certain characters have interaction with each other. Like, obviously, it would be easier for Green Arrow and The Flash being on the same network, same production company, whatever.
Exactly.
But with, say, Gotham being on Fox and some of the other projects coming out on different networks.
I don't know if they would reach as far. And again, I don't know. I don't know that they would reach as far as Gotham, but I think that anytime, you look at it with, on the big screen, it's like, look, let's try and get these guys together because we can. And I think they're very much tuned to that as well. How far the reach is, how far it extends, I don't know, but I think it's definitely on the table.
I guess that's really all I can get out of that.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like, yeah.
The Flash on CW, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. I want to ask you something a little bit more on the sillier side, outside of The Flash.
Please.
A project that I find really compelling is Michael and Tom Eat Snacks.
Good for you. Suddenly, like, we're compadres.
Right.
Yeah, Mike and Tom Eat Snacks, for the people who don't know, is a podcast available on Nerdist and iTunes where my friend Michael Ian Black and we did movies, television, theater stuff together. And every time we worked together.
What was your first project you worked together, by the way? It wasn't Ed, right?
It was Ed.
It was Ed.
Yeah, and then we branched out from there and did a bunch of stuff because we're friends. We get along great, and we realized you're always like when you like somebody in this world, you're always kind of like, I'd love to work with you again, but it never happens. It's just really hard, But we were like, okay, our favorite times when we're working together is what? When we sit down and eat.
Right.
So it's like,
It's just such a simple concept that most people wouldn't even
for people who don't know,
think
it's
about it.
called
Like,
Mike
we
and-
should just put this
Yeah.
out online. You can hear us talk about snacks.
We literally thought our first episode, Cheetos.
Yeah.
We're like, I remember we were doing it at Comedy Central, and we were out on Hudson Street in the rain, and we just done what we do every week. We pick a snack, we eat the snack, we rate the snack, but mostly it's two guys sitting at a table, just completely nothing is planned, and we just go. We just talk. Sometimes we don't even get to the snack.
I just downloaded your recent one with vanilla wafers.
Nilla wafers.
Nilla
Yeah,
wafers.
I think we took some heavy shots. Well, no, we did all right. Nilla wafers did okay. Most of the time, so it's morphed into this thing. We did Cheetos, and we thought, I looked at him and said, he goes to me, is this anything? And I said, no. And yet it's become this massive thing because people love their snacks. Now we have companies like Kraft and Pop Chips sending us this stuff every week. And they're like, we want you to review this. And we're like, we're going to rip you, right? And they're like, we don't care. Free publicity. And it's become it's just snowballed into this thing. And all we do is we sit, we eat the snack, we rate the snack.
Well, I do a bit on the Opie radio channel for Opie and Jim that's called The Consumer, #The Consumer. And it's pretty much, I find all these weird snacks that people wouldn't even think of.
And people go crazy, right? They're
And
just so
I just do a
it's so
simple
personal.
review, and I only do it on Instagram until they tell me to bring it on the air. But I post it on Instagram, I give a little review, and people go nuts
They
for
go
this
nuts.
stuff.
They go crazy.
Recently, I just found out Shock Top put out a pretzel beer and a chocolate wheat beer that just came out for their winter package. And I saw it in the store, picked it up, but you just put it up online, and people go nuts for this stuff.
Yeah, no, they go crazy. Literally, if you said to them, okay, listen, it would be much preferable to them to say your kid's ugly. They'd rather hear that than go, the caramel flavor of your product is not as good.
Right.
They'd be like, how dare you?
I'm not feeling this cranberry Sprite that's out right
What?
now. Yeah, how dare you?
Go to hell. Like they go crazy.
Right.
They go crazy. I love the passion.
Well, Tom, I'm running out of time with you. Thank you so much for coming by. The Flash is
My
on
pleasure.
CW, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. I can't leave without mentioning Ed. I was a huge fan of Ed.
Thank you.
And I don't know why people have this perception of that Ed didn't get a fair shot. I think I would like to have seen it go longer, but you had 4 seasons.
No, we had 4
That's
seasons.
more than most TV shows
Listen,
ever get.
when again, like I say, nothing is promised to you. Most shows don't go. And when our show aired and did well, producer Rob Burnett and I, who's like one of my closest and dearest friends, we drove home one night.
So that's why you're on Letterman all the time.
It's because I'm winning. And we were like, so what do you think? He's like, we literally had a handshake deal. It's a true story. He's like, 4 or 5 seasons. I said 4. He said 5. Because you never want to, as hard as it is to leave and to say goodbye, you never want to be those people who are just like hanging on,
right,
and you're out of ideas, and you're just doing the show because it's there. And as hard as it was to stop doing that show, because it was just a love fest, that show. Everyone just was so gratified and happy to do the show and really cared for one another as much as you can. I feel like most shows don't get to say goodbye on their terms. We got to know that we were doing 4, that we were leaving on 4. We could get the 2 of them together. We could tell people what the end of the show was, and it feels really good to leave still wanting to do it and not feeling that you're on that downside of the slope. So I'm 4 seasons, tremendous, like tremendous run.
Do you think we'll return to Stuckyville?
Always.
Always?
Always.
In your heart?
Always.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.